Hello, hello. I'm going to jump right through this because when I did the blocks to your breakthrough, I had a lot of people message out, okay, I understand the blocks, but how do I have a freaking breakthrough? How can you create a breakthrough? You are required to participate when having your breakthrough. A coach can't have your breakthrough for you. I can't go to the gym and lift the weights and your bicep muscle grow, right? It just doesn't work that way. So if you see me looking back and forth here, I'm just gonna let you know I am recording this for a podcast. So any comments, any hellos, I will acknowledge you here at the end. But I am going to be doing these on a regular basis over on Wednesdays. They're gonna be Why Wait Wednesday. We're gonna dive deep into how to have a breakthrough, what's required for a breakthrough, why aren't you having your breakthrough, how do you stay in alignment, how do you co-create your reality to be one that is fulfilling your dreams, your desires, and all the things, and living a rich, fulfilled life with intention, with confidence, with certainty, with all the things people honestly desire, but maybe they just aren't aware of yet, right? Intentional consciousness and what's involved. So jumping into today's topic again, how to have a breakthrough. The last episode talked about what's blocking you from your breakthrough. So now that we know what's blocking us and the challenges that are keeping us from that, let's talk about how we can actually do this. What's required? This isn't just, oh, if I do this here and there, I will get my breakthrough. No, this is consistent, intentional action on these things, okay? So the first one is decide it's happening now. Decide. To make a decision isn't, I'm going to do this. That's going to do it when, how, who's involved, what are you doing to say that it's happening, right? So deciding it's happening now is standing in your power and actually claiming it now to be true. You are the one actually doing the thing now, not going to do the thing, not someday when, not giving all your power away to an external circumstance or person or situation. This is being in your truest form of your identity as a self-led leader. And now my Instagram is telling me to take a break. Nope, sorry, I'm on a roll here. So with that said, this is being in your self-led leadership power. You're taking your power back from any circumstance or condition or person that's been saying, we're going to do this together, or I'm going to help you have this breakthrough. Now, when we talk about breakthroughs, this is any area of your life. This is personal, this is professional, because it's all interdependent on each other. You can't just be a professional bad butt in this world and it not affect your personal life. You can't just be a very high performing mom, leader of the home, doing the things, juggling your job. It all is interdependent because your focus is going to be on the role that you are or have agreed to in that time, whether it's 7 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon, right? So you have to decide. You have to say, I'm doing the thing and it's my non-negotiable. That's called decision. That's called claiming it. That's called owning it, not writing it down and saying someday when circumstances match. No, you create the reality of it actually happening sooner than later. And it could be very fast, or it might take a little bit of time. But if you don't decide, it's never going to happen, right? The second one is taking aligned action. What is aligned action? Aligned action is basically when you are in your truest self. It's a heck yes. And even if you're a little nervous or scared, it should feel light, expansive, and freeing. It's like, I'm doing this thing. I'm doing this thing. This is what I've always wanted to do, and it's happening. And I'm not sure if I'm going to mess it up, and I don't really care because I'm doing this thing, right? So when you take that aligned action, it's key that it's consistent. Because this is what happens. This is when people hire me and they come into my world and they're like, I read all the books, I've taken all the courses, I've hired all the coaches, and there can be all the books in the world that are explaining the tactics and the strategies and the thing that you want to experience. But yet, if you do not take that aligned action, that knowledge that you invested precious time into that you'll never get back is powerless. It might be here, or it might be in that book that you read 5 years ago on your bookshelf, but the knowledge is powerless. You basically depowered that information that has helped so many other people experience what you desire. And this is, again, in any freaking area of life, of whatever you desire more of. You want a better relationship? You want a better job? Do you want more money coming in? Do you want more happiness, more love, more connection, more adventure? So really listen to that second one again. Knowledge only has power when it's applied. Otherwise, it's powerless. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some things that we read that we don't necessarily need to take action on because it's not in alignment to what our bigger vision and values are at the time, right? So number 3, decrease goal setting. What? As a make it happen, as a breakthrough coach, as a self-mastery guru, I'm telling you not to set goals. I'm telling you not to set goals the old traditional way. The smart way is okay and will only get you so far. I know, because I used to make my goals that way. I'm asking you for a real sustainable, quick meaning in relative and due time breakthrough. You must instead, and I'm certain of this, create mile markers. Because what happens is when you have mile markers, I know I'm doing the thing and I'm on the right track when I hit this mile marker, this mile marker, this mile marker. You now are being fueled by your own intentional set points, right? It's bigger than mindset, it's set points. So think about this as, and this is where, again, I'm not big on New Year's resolutions. I highly believe that every month, every week is a new time to set intentions. What's your intention? Well, I can't help you set your intention unless I know what the experience you want to experience. What's the goal or the mile marker? And for the sake of breakthroughs, ditch the goal for a second and let's focus on the mile markers, okay? Because when you focus on the mile markers, they're in support of your vision or you don't set it. Hear that again. It's supporting your vision or you don't set it. You don't take action towards it. You say no to it. And I don't care if it's your child asking you to do X, Y, or Z, right? Now, I say that wholeheartedly because you can see family is a big deal to me. Time freedom is one of my highest values because I like to spend time with my family. I love my loved ones, even the ones I didn't pick, right? Even my friends I call family. But that's important with this because as a recovering people pleaser, a recovering perfectionist, and a recovering make it happen person, a lot of this stuff used to cause me severe anxiety because I would say yes to this and yes to this and yes to this. And the next thing you know, I was not just living out goals and mile markers and hitting them like a rock star, but it was in support of somebody else's vision. And I was like, wow, it looked good and sounded good to say, I helped this person hit blah, 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 blah. But in reality, that was just an ego stroke that the time that it was over, it was gone. It's gone. This is why when I realized in my mid-20s when the company that I worked for was being sold to a big Fortune 50 company and I didn't know it and everybody was being laid off, I took it very personally because I allowed that one role and that title to identify me. That's called interpersonal self-growth suicide. You do not allow one role to define who you are because when that role goes away, who are you? Who are you? Which leads me to number 4. Number 4 is immense clarity on who you are. An unshakable confidence. Who do you stand for? What do you stand for? What's your self-awareness? High emotional intelligence. No title, no dollar amount decides who you are. You decide what your worth is. Only you can decide. And if you ever feel like you're being unworthy or not good enough, hello, I've been there before, multiple times over, but you catch yourself. Take your power back. And if you have to make that motion, be like, I don't feel worthy, or I must not be good enough, I didn't get that, or they didn't understand it, or they condemned me, or there was so much constructive criticism being fed back to me. Pause, do this motion, take your power back. Take it back. Only you can decide. But you have to be super clear on who you are and what you stand for. If you don't, You'll stand for anything. Right? Don't want to be that way, because that's not going to allow you to have your breakthrough. And this is for big breakthroughs in life, career shifts, quitting that security thing, getting out of that secure, familiar relationship that no longer feeds you, and the list could go on. So think about who you are, what you stand for, and then let's talk about the other who. This is a power move. The other who is supporting you, who's on your team, who's in your community. And I'm not saying rah, rah, let's go, be your best, do your best. No, I'm talking about who can you trust and delegate that has similar values, similar vision, and you're on the same mission together. And you're creating mile markers, set points together, and your support of one another. Because life is not meant to be done alone. I'm a very independent person. I have been since I was 5 years old. And what caused me, I'm not even gonna use the word triggered, but what caused and activated me to become so independent as even an introvert. My extrovert side, my confidence came through life's choices, things I put myself in and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, right? And when I was 5, my parents divorced. This was in the early 80s when divorce wasn't common or popular, I guess is the way to put it. It seems like it's so popular these days, which is so sad. But I thought I had to raise myself, and my parents were amazing parents. They did the best they could. They actually still get along to this day. And my brother and I were the only constant in each other's lives. So me being 4 years older, I thought I had to be the person to lead and to take care of us, because we are all we had. I was taught at a young age that people could leave you, people can separate, and who's left, right? But what I did is I started to shut off going deep and loving and connecting people because I was afraid to lose them. And I just did things myself. I didn't ask for help. Like, well, no one's going to be there to help me anyways. I better just figure it out. So at the end of the day, who is in your corner? Who is on your team? Who is supporting you? And the catch-22 in this, the catch-22 is you don't need anyone to do your work. Yet when you learn to delegate, that takes you up to another level of being empowered. And to be very honest, I'll go back to the very beginning of this. No one can do the work for you. The real deep inner work of a real breakthrough cannot be done through someone else. There can be support, there can be someone holding space, there could be strategy, there can be so many cool components of having your breakthrough with someone else involved, but you have to be the initiator. You have to be the one that's decided, and you have to be the one to follow through. And especially in a coaching and mentorship role, I see this all the time. Like, people want my help. People are like desperate for it. And some of those people I don't even hire. I fire them before I allow them to come into my world, because there should be no desperation. There has to be a little bit of self-confidence or power in there that I can at least see, or they can at least see. And we work through to make that stronger so they can own it. And they can keep that breakthrough as a consistent thing, and they don't revert back to old patterns, old habits, old behaviors. Now, consulting is a little different, because in consulting, sometimes what happens is, and I've consulted for many other organizations where I was actually building out structures, support, leading teams, jumping on calls, showing them how it's done live and in person. This is like high ticket sales type stuff, online service providing type stuff, doing audits and things like that. And then once that consulting timeframe is expired or is up, or whatever you want to call it, the delegation and handoff to internal team members. And then I switched into the role of the coach. I come in, I check dots, review things, give feedback, and help them have a breakthrough so that they can do it even better than I did when I came in to help, right? That's always the goal. A good coach and mentor allows someone to be activated and integrate next level. And there's no comparison to another person who's on the team, or the consultant that was brought in, or the expert or the guru. It's like, who can you be your best self in? And let's support the teammate too. Because the only competition that we're in full reality is this right here, because this will stop us before we even get started, right? So we're really this far away from a breakthrough, because now that you're learning and knowing these things, this is how you can now take and empower yourself with these tools. Number 6 is the what. What is the point of what you're doing? Why do you do what you do will be next, but what is it? What does it do in service of others and the greatest good? And this goes back to your vision and values. And if you're not clear on your vision and values, who you are and who you're showing up as is going to be really hard to describe. Who's on your team and who's supporting you is going to be really hard to figure out who that person is and what type of person you're looking for. What type of values are you looking for? So if you're already here at 6 on what it is that is in the higher service and good for others, and you haven't done your vision work and you haven't done your value work, go back and do that, and then go back to number 1. So go back to number 1 and listen from the start, because this is the most critical piece. You can't live from a vision that you don't have, or you can't live from a vision that you don't know what it is. You're going to start living by default and live out other people's expectations and visions and dreams and goals. And then lastly is number 7. 7 is critical because this is your why. Why are you doing this? Not what, but why is the vision even a vision? Why is the purpose? Why is the drive, is the force? Why? When people have great momentum or they're creating their own luck, it's because they are so confident and certain in their why. And the why is there on the days that are ease and flow, and the why is there on the growth days, because there really isn't a good or bad day when you are so anchored into your why and you're living from your vision. When you're living with conscious intention and aligned to that vision, really there isn't bad days. The bad days that other people are like, oh my gosh, that happened to you? That had to be so challenging. Yeah, it was. And I grew exponentially and it was amazing. And I'm glad this happened now and not 10 years from now. Or I'm glad it didn't happen 10 years ago, because I don't think I was ready mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically ready to handle that, right? So back in my human performance days, I called this why the mission, or the weight loss why. And it was bigger than willpower, because willpower is like water. Our cup is full when we wake up. And as we make a decision, our willpower starts to get depleted. Sometimes we're out of willpower by noon. Other times we're out of willpower by 5 p.m. And that's where we pull our strength from. But when we can understand we actually have something greater than willpower, which is called our why or our will, we can tap into that. No matter how much willpower we have left of the day, that doesn't matter. We're taking our power back. See that? We're taking our power back from something that can be depleted, because we are standing in our truth and we are super confident in the knowing of that. So number one is decide it's happening now. Number 2, take aligned action, not just any action, aligned action. It can be messy, but it has to be aligned. Number 3, ditch the old school goal setting and create mile markers instead. Number 4, immense clarity on who you are, immense, like unshakable. No one can take it away. No one can define it in a way that it is just stuck into a role that you play. Number 5, who is on your team, even if they're not physically on your team yet, or who is supporting you, even if that coach isn't there yet, even if you haven't invested in whatever it is that you're calling in, that you're holding space for. Number 6 is what, and number 7 is why. And if this landed for you and you appreciate the value, the greatest gift in the world that I would love to see and hear would be a review on Courageous and Free with Jacquelyn Mack over on iTunes. All it will take is just a couple of minutes. I'd love to hear what of this conversation landed for you and how it impacted you, and now what you're going to do with it. That's more important. Again, knowledge is only power when we do something with it. If you want to take this conversation the next step further, you can always message me here on Instagram. Send me a DM. Tell me where you're struggling. Let me know what allowed you to have the breakthrough. Was it all 7? Was it one in particular? And then lastly, if you're struggling from having a breakthrough and you feel like you have tried it all, I'd love to support you. I'd love to support you in activating it now and not waiting till someday when the circumstances are just right, or that person has blah, blah, blah. I've heard so many different excuses. It's just delay. And delay is the biggest dream killer of all dream killers. Stop delaying. Give yourself more credit. There are always options to jump into my Rise Up program each month. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 spots left. Sometimes it's 7. It just depends on the month. And Rise Up stands for Radical Intentional Self-Expansion, to unleash your unlimited potential. So if that sounds like something you would know a little bit about, you can check the highlights on my Instagram under Rise Up, or you can DM me Freedom as well. So until next time, please know that you are completely worthy. You are ready. You can do this. Your potential is patiently waiting. And I'm going to send you off with so much love. So now I'm going to actually stop the recording for the podcast. And